In college, I learned a lot of things, okay? I took a bunch of science classes and I met a lot of friends. So I learned a lot of things in a social aspect as well as in an academic aspect. I also forgot a lot of things, okay? A lot of the things I memorized for chemistry classes or for biology classes or for whatever, I forgot. But this one thing is what really stuck with me. And that's a lesson that's sort of developed over the past few months since I've graduated, since I've been working as an EMT and doing other things. It's sort of been in the back of my mind, especially as I've been reading a lot of books. Because one thing I noticed when I was in college is I would see a lot of people adding these minors or taking a bunch of side classes that looked interesting to them. It's just something I'm guilty of too. Okay, I took a functional jazz piano class and I took an existentialism class. I took philosophy classes. I took a class about religion. It was called Dark Self, East and West. And every time I took one of those classes, I was disappointed because the university is sort of selling you a course the same way that a lot of people online will sell you a course. They're not really selling you the course itself, they're selling you the desired outcome. You think that by taking this class, now you're going to be able to play jazz piano. Or by taking this class, now that you're going to be a little bit more historically oriented. I know that sounds weird, but you might be a little bit of a historian where you can have conversations and be knowledgeable. They're selling you a vision of yourself in the future. But that vision is not really something you need to buy from the university. Just like it's not really something you need to buy from the YouTuber or whatever. And that's one of the broader developments I want to talk about here, which is that in universities, you don't really take the classes to learn the things. You've probably heard the narrative. People are like, oh, universities are just to show your employer you can show up on time. And look, that might be true for some majors. I'm looking at the business majors now. But all jokes aside, like, that is a real thing. You're demonstrating what you can do. And it might not be just showing up on time. If you're majoring in chemistry or, you know, human physiology like some of these kids are, you're not showing your ability to show up on time. You're showing your ability to budget your time effectively, to study well, because studying itself is a skill, in my opinion. And if you're applying to graduate school, you're trying to demonstrate to them your ability to perform as a student. They don't really expect you to have retained all of the information you learned as an undergraduate. They want to see the skill that you have developed of being a student. That's really what you learn in college, in my opinion, when you're applying to graduate schools. Like if you're like me and you're applying to medical school. But for these other things like history and the arts and these things that are really valuable, I think that it's not something you need school for. But it is something you need because there's been this long-standing belief and tradition that by attending college you're supposed to be an educated person and you're supposed to have knowledge of history and be cultured in some sense, which I think is disappearing. If you go to a college or if you've attended a college like I have, you'll notice that very few people are there to develop intellectually. Almost everyone is there for one of two reasons. They're either there to demonstrate their abilities to someone else who's either going to employ them or admit them to a school, or they're there for the social experience and they're not really aware of their long term visions. They might be funded by either the government or their parents to go, and those people that help them get there are not holding them accountable. So, between the lack of accountability enables this to some extent. But also, you know, everyone, since so many more people are going to college now, that that general vision of expanding your knowledge is being lost in terms of looking for careers and in terms of the social experience. And you know you can argue which one of those is more responsible. You can say we need more people getting training for jobs, which is true. I think that's certainly better out of the two options of having no direction and being there for the social experience versus being career oriented. Out of those two options, I think the career oriented people are better. And I don't mean to say that it's a complete dichotomy. Of course, you can be career oriented and have the social experience as well. I'm just talking about the people that really are gravitating towards the social experience side and are not at all focused on the career oriented side. But there's a very small minority of people there that are truly trying to learn intellectually about topics that they're going to retain into the future. And that's what I want to get into. This is the main lesson that I learned. It's because, in my opinion, college is not really good for that. To grow intellectually, first of all, you don't need college to grow intellectually. You can do that much more efficiently through the library and through self teaching and creating content. Okay. I personally think that creating content is the best way to learn because you really have to understand something to articulate it. So I think that really what a lot of people, almost everyone, should be doing is taking those intellectual aspects that used to be more heavily emphasized in school and now at a lot of places are, writing 101 and these easy classes no one cares about. It's not hard to do well in them and you don't retain anything interesting from them. You know, it's transitioning to people that are willing to teach themselves about history. And, you know, that's my main takeaway. Okay. My main takeaway is the importance of sitting down with books and teaching them to other people to compress knowledge from long ago and to enjoy that while also sharing it. You know, recently someone was telling me that as we age as a civilization, everyone inherits the cultural wealth of past generations. So not only does our living standard go up from the actual goods that we have with us, you know, it's easier to produce commodities because of the industrial revolution and because of globalism and because of free trade and those sorts of things and AI now and all of these things. But on top of those developments, those technological developments, we have a rich culture of authors, of artists, of sculptors that previous generations didn't inherit. And I think that it's our duty to enjoy those things that we've inherited. Okay. You know, it's easy now. There's so many distractions. But I think that those are lower forms of enjoyment, when you really go outside and see the wilderness or when you see beautiful artwork or when you absorb a great piece of writing and you start to learn about historical developments in different cultures. I think those are sort of higher forms of enjoyment. Anyway, this is sort of a rant. I'm going to try to do some more targeted content in the future. I'm going to reflect on my medical school applications. I'm almost done with my secondaries right now. So I'm going to do one of those graphs where you put where you got into or wherever, hoping I get in. Okay, I really need to get in somewhere. Then I'm going to do my travels. I'm going to be traveling next year. So that's sort of where I'm at with this. Hopefully people watch the longer form content and stop watching the little shorts of me with my dog or, it's like no one cares about the stuff I actually put time into. Everyone's watching a short of my dog like digging up a hole or like some stupid clip of me with VR. It's a little bit annoying. And no one cares about the cinematic video that I put like hours and hours into. Anyway, end of rant. I'll see you later.